Hello and welcome. Today we are going to look at a racing mind and how to get relief from it. It's there's four real things that you need to look at. You need to understand the problem, you need to understand the solution, you need to understand the pathway, and then you practice the technique. Okay, it's real simple. But we do things a little bit differently in non-ordinary living, and that is we use primarily our mind and our body. Okay, so we see things with our mind and we experience and feel things with our body. So a racing mind, the problem is that our thoughts are out of control. Okay, they get stuck in loops. Okay, they go over the same thing. They're normally out of our control, so that they just seem too much, too fast, and in our body we just get this pressure build up and this sense of being out of control, and that everything's just too fast. Okay, so what you don't want to do, the solution is not to stop your thoughts. Okay, I've tried twice. First time failed dismally. Second time I almost drove myself nuts. Okay, it's not about stopping your thoughts, it is about controlling your thoughts. Okay, so the way we go about that, the solution is, first and foremost, we need to balance. So if you think of binary, okay, everything can be included in a binary. So if you're thinking too much, the binary of that is to feel. Okay, so first and foremost, we want to get out of our head and into our body. That's a key priority. Now, you can do a little test here. Now, I've done this with hundreds of people, okay? And without fail, there's a definite side that you fall on. So I want you to just tune into your head and just, without thinking, just put your hand on whatever side you can feel more than the other. Don't think about it. And what you normally find, if you are prone to think or overthink, you'll find that you'll get a sense that the left side is more active. Okay, and this, we won't go in too much into detail. What you normally find with people that get overwhelmed with their emotions, they'll be more dominant on this side. And we're not going to go into left-right brain thing. Okay, that's not what this is about. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you have seen the energy balls video, which I'm hoping that you have, because this will make it easier. What we're doing is we're just describing the pattern, the energetic pattern, okay? And we can feel that pattern, and with a little bit of trust in ourselves, we can see the pattern. So first and foremost, the solution is to balance thinking with feeling. But we need to get a little bit of space in order to do that. So rather than trying to stop the thoughts, we want to apply, there's a key word in all of the minutes to mastery, in all the protocols, we have a key word. And the key word with racing mind is rhythm, okay? So what you'll find is, if that rhythm's too fast, okay, each thought's just running into the next, and it's just like, and it's too much, like the energy is just hectic. You can feel it. Even as I'm sitting here talking, you can feel it. But what if I just started to slow down my thoughts? And just straight away, I'm not trying to breathe. I'm not thinking about breathing. There's just that natural slowing down of the rhythm, and it gives space. And my body just naturally wants to relax and to breathe and to bring oxygen in. So that rhythm, if we can just slow that rhythm down. Now, the technique that you learn in the written guide, all we're doing here with a racing mind is we are trying to simulate a balanced mind. And a balanced mind is in a rhythm. And that rhythm is normally aligned with what we're doing. But if we're not aligned with what we're doing, our thoughts get away from us. The energy is not going down the path that we want it to go down. And so it goes off this way into our thoughts, or it can go off that way into our emotions. And the energy it takes to try and bring that back is what causes the tension and the pressure. So To give you a very firm example, so if we think of all these thoughts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I remember that one. So 8-beat rhythm. It's just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What if we took out every second one? And I want you to feel this, okay? As much as we're working with the mind at the moment, you've got to balance, okay? Thinking to feeling. So we're changing the rhythm of our thoughts. So now we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the goal is not to get caught up in the rhythm. The goal is just to slow down and smooth out our thinking. Now, you can apply any kind of rhythm. Did you see what I just did then? I landed on a word. And I like dropping a pebble into a pond. In fact, as you get more awareness and as you start to move and balancing thinking and feeling, so the idea is not to go fully into feeling, the idea is to find the balance, okay? So in between these two extremes, the two binaries, in the middle is where we're after. And sometimes you'll go into thinking and sometimes you'll go into feeling, and it's just this dynamic flow. So the essence of non-ordinary living is mind-body energetics, which is understanding the energy of mind and body and how they interact. But then the goal is to move into dynamic flow, all right? So when we're talking, oftentimes if you are an overthinker, you can talk, all right? Or you can go. Practice just pausing. And just feel what that feels like. There's this release of tension. And what normally happens is we start to center. And I'm not talking, we're talking about a system here. When you allow a system to align, there's space. And that space allows the proper function. So we can start to align our thoughts with what we're doing. But we don't want to stop them. We want to apply a natural rhythm. And that rhythm is not this, okay? It's your rhythm. You've got to find your rhythm. All we're doing at the moment is flipping the binary. So in the written guide, you will be guided down into your body, okay? Because if you think about it, if you've got all this energy, okay, and it's caught here, that's what we're feeling. We're feeling the field of that. If you can tune into your left side and feel that. Can you balance it? 100%. Okay. I'm not going to go into the story of how I came about that right now because it would make this video too long. But when I first noticed it, I tried to balance it, and I pulled my awareness over to this side. And what I found is that almost instantly, my thoughts stopped. And it just gave me that breathing room, that space in order to engage. And I noticed that everything slowed down. And so I just started to play with it. The first time I noticed that it was balanced, that I could feel both sides, and in fact I could feel everything at once, which is the goal, was after I'd been surfing. I got out of the water and I just happened to tune in, and I was like, oh my God, because this side had been active for some time. Now, unfortunately, the right side, the balance of my system, had been, due to trauma, it had been distorted. Okay, so I really needed to work on getting back into my body, which is a trauma response to get out of your body, and to feel. When I got out of surf, it was balanced. And because with surfing, if you just sort of go with the feeling and everything and don't, you're not trying to guide yourself on the wave and be in tune with everything, you'll fall off. If you only think about the move that you want to make and you're not responding to what's actually happening, you'll fall off. There's got to be that balance. And when you hit that sweet spot, which is in between, which is what we call the neutral state. In fact, with movement, you're moving into neutral to potential, but we'll talk about that later. The neutral state is where you regain alignment, okay? The neutral state is where you can build your capacity to handle the outside. It's not about how good you handle the outside world, it's about how aligned your system is. So that you are not, if you are not doing the things that you are here to do, which we're getting a little bit philosophical, but that's okay, then that energy is going to seek to go elsewhere. So imagine if you're here to do a certain job, just for example, and you're not doing that job. There's a misalignment. If we go back to the energy balls video, the thing that you like, it creates this sense of presence and aliveness, okay? Because it's aligned with who you are. And you can start to tune in and feel this when you are misaligned, when you are not doing what you're here to do, when you are not pouring your energy in to your energetic self, it tends to drift. And then we have to use effort to bring it back. And that's what normally is what's happening with racing mind. Okay, we're caught up in these thoughts, the energy's not going anywhere, so it's just chaotic. So when we apply rhythm, we go into our body and we start to slow down. Not stop, we're just slowing down, which is why in the written guide and the practice that you get in the written guide, all we're doing is simulating this, simulating rhythm. We're simulating this and we're simulating this, okay? That's all it is. So you go into the body, slow it down, and then with the practice that you get, the technique that you get, so the path. So we've got problem, understand the solution, which is balance, and the pathway. So in order to get to the racing mind, it's got to get there first, okay? There's a pathway that goes from where you are to racing mind, out of control, caught in loops, stuck in chaos. If you understand that pathway, the same path that takes you there can bring you back, okay? So if we're okay, we bring it back, and then we just apply dynamic movement. And so with the technique, all you're doing is you are attaching your thoughts to the head movement. So this is something that you can do, but anything that you can do to simulate rhythm and then attach it to your thoughts, rappers, that's what they're doing. They're attaching their thoughts to a rhythm. Okay, and so they're able to control them. And if you notice, they are, especially guys that freestyle rap, they're meeting in the moment. They're meeting the feeling state and what's going on inside them, and they're able to communicate it in the moment, in a rhythm. And then when you stop on words, that gives breathing space. It allows your body to come back to balance, okay? Finding your center, slowing things down, slowing the rhythm down, and then our thoughts become organized. You can even listen to your words as they are leaving your mouth. There's a multitude of practices that you can do to simulate rhythm and a balance between thinking and feeling, okay? So we're not trying to stop it, we're moving from slow to smooth, and we're allowing our thoughts to organize. It happens naturally. We don't have to do anything. We just need to remove the tension. And we do that by aligning with our center, which is what we learn more about in the neutral state workshop. I would 100% suggest that you go and do the neutral workshop, okay? Because what we're doing here is corrective movements. That's all this is. If we're going too far one way, we want to correct that and bring it back to center. And then we want to apply a keyword that relates, that simulates dealing with this. So if the racing mind is too fast, we don't necessarily just want to slow it down. We want to apply a rhythm, and that rhythm comes from you. I can't give you a rhythm because it probably wouldn't make sense to you. So the technique is there to use until you don't need it anymore. Okay, because once you get into that calmer state, that flow state, that neutral state, which is the balance point, you then can start to connect. So in the neutral workshop, we don't deal with corrective movements, we deal with stabilization of the neutral state so that you can access it and maintain it under increasing circumstances. So at first we just do it sort of in an easy atmosphere, but with practice, see, what I did there was I was getting ahead of myself, and I could feel a tension in my body, and I was leaning forward. So I just slowed, and that allows. So I'm not thinking now about what I'm going to say. I'm just allowing it to emerge naturally because I'm pretty adept at staying in the neutral state. And once you sit in the neutral state, you connect with your deeper self. We won't go into that right now. And your truth and it just naturally emerges. Okay? So practice the technique. Read through the written guide. It gives you a slightly different perspective, but still it is problem, solution, path technique. Okay? Remember that the path that takes you there is the same one that gets you back. So awareness is the key. Become aware of what you're doing, because how you do one thing is normally how you do all things. So if you are thinking too much, going too fast, you're normally doing other things fast as well. It's a compensation for misalignment, but we're not here to deal with that. All we want to do is give you relief from a racing mind. Once you get the hang of that and start to balance, start to find rhythm, you'll start to naturally gravitate towards and back into your center, which is the neutral state. And then, like I said, in the neutral state workshop, which is only $34, okay? It's bugger all. And it's a standalone product. You don't need anything else. You don't even need that. If you wanted to just do this, you would figure it out. You would figure it out. You would drop into that space and you can get used to that space. And then you can figure it out from there. That's all I've done. I haven't read this in a book. I haven't learned it from a course. I just play with awareness, with my own awareness, mind and body. And mind and body are just two ways that we interpret energy. With the mind we see, and with the body we feel. All right? So that's the key word, rhythm. Find your rhythm. Apply it to your thoughts. Land on certain thoughts. Play. Good luck. Have fun. Any questions, email me. But please, if you're going to do one thing this year, go and do the neutral workshop. It's a standalone thing. You don't need anything else. If you want to take it further, if you want to actually play with the emergence of your true self, what I call your energetic signature, then that's what the community's for. But you don't need to. You can just go and play on your own. But we have a playground in the community for people that want to explore this and want to go from the neutral state into the potential state. But you don't need it. You can just, if you can get relief from the racing mind, and if you've got the other techniques, the other protocols, you can remove all the tension from your life. Pretty cool. The neutral state just stabilizes that, and so you don't have to, instead of working on the outside, we're working on the inside, and we're learning what that neutral state feels like, what that connection feels like, and how to trust the emergence of what that connection brings. All right? Have fun.